So rolling on here, and we don't
Sure.
have to spend much time here. Cataloging
No.
your work. You'd mentioned, yeah, sharing some insight into your system. There's an example of that system below here, but let James walk us through this before you get too bogged down with this alphabet soup here.
Yeah. So essentially, these are just two examples. So what it is essentially I catalog my work by date first, so I can actually go back and find the most recent work. Date, then it's the key of G. It's the key. Speed, 65 beats per minute. Um, Instrument, it's a piano ballad solo. There's no other instruments on it. There's no vocal on this particular one. There's no lyric, obviously, if there's no vocal. Number of themes, it'd be a single theme, so it would just be a verse or a chorus. Uh, my intention, my thinking right now is that this thing is going to be for a co-write. So when I am looking for things to send to co-writers, they're all cataloged so that I can find that again. I can just type in for co-write and this will come up. And then I kind of try and make some kind of guesstimation of how much, how complete it is. And obviously I could spend, 4 times more time on it once I sort of figure out its potential, but I want to make some kind of an indication of what completion. And for our friend that asked us about, about having not a lot of time because he's self-employed and has to split his time up between the two things. This is really handy because I can look at this and kind of go 50% complete. I don't know if I've got time for that one. Oh, here's this film pitch one, 75% complete. I got enough time to do the other 25% of that one and finish it up. So that would be it. Yeah.
Bingo. All right, so we're bringing this around here. Song Forms for Songwriters. That's the book. At the end of the presentation here, we'll show you the cover and where you can find it. But yeah, essentially, I should let you set it up about some of the various templates in there. And yeah, tell us about the approach, templates for songwriting, how that improves your efficiency.
For sure. So essentially, what the idea of it is it's abstractions. So what's been pulled out of the song forms of these 100 songs is what's called the chord functions. So whether the chords in a certain bar create tension or release tension, and then in a certain key, I've offered the template offers up all of the different options for that chord style or that chord kind in that key. So an example would be what's the date? It's the 25th. Okay, so if I go to template 25, I end up with an intro, and I've got the choices in my first bar of a B flat, a G minor, or a B flat 7. So that could be, or I could have this G minor, or I could have this B flat 7, and each of those will create a different start for me. So because the form of the intros and verses and how many bars are in them and what chords are available is all really predetermined in the template, I can just then decide which of those chords I want to choose and just begin getting into the fun and creative part of my song without having to build the form. And songwriters are used to building the form as they write their song. They're just not very good at it, and that's one of the reasons why we sometimes don't end up with very good songs now. But I could take this template number one, and it could just be 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 G minor 2 3 4 F 2 3 4 G minor 3 4, then G minor, and then F F, and then G minor. Da do da do da 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 do do da do da 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 do do da 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 do, and I can begin to build my song, and I could just open that page and instantly have a song idea. So, when we talk about, oh, when I'm inspired I don't have time, and when I'm have time I'm not inspired, what this really does is it doesn't really solve the problem of you being inspired while you're trying to get through your day job or your self-employed job. But what it does do is it means that you can actually sit down and instantly be inspired because all of the sort of all the grunt work of the form is already done for you. Just sit down and you just make a little piece of music, and then obviously that's very good for your song starts, which then is good for all the rest of the process that we talked about in the 3 boxes. And that's what I meant by you never starting with a blank page. Because if you start with a template, it's always there. And the idea that we talk about is that Mozart wrote minuets, Bach wrote fugues, and those were song forms they just poured their creativity into. And we kind of don't do that anymore. And I think it's sometimes to the detriment of our work. And I always think that if it's sort of good enough for Bach, it's probably good enough for those of us who are sitting here in this webinar.
Right on. Okay.
Cool.
Organized and systemic, and I guess this kind of brings us full circle. Maybe I jumped the gun a bit earlier, although,
No,
yeah, now that we got that out of the way, tell us about the results. Like, how will this tangibly influence and more specifically improve your creative process?
my clients look vastly different in a month. There's no resemblance of the place they were at within 30 days. Within a year, they're completely unrecognizable because, of course, when you add all those people, you add infrastructure. A story I tell quite often is I went into Hit License, which is a website that you can pitch to films and TV and TV ads, and I've had a little bit of success. I have an education in film composition. That's why I teach film comp and songwriting for film at the Canada Film Center in the Slate music residency program. And so I was kind of dabbling away at this film thing, and I found that every time I got shortlisted for my music to be in a film or a TV show, there was this person, Ellen, in Australia, that she was always shortlisted too. So I emailed her and I said, we're always working against one another, and I don't want to compete against you anymore because you're too good. So if we just work together, that would be really great, and we could write songs together and maybe have more success. And it proved to be true, and we got some placements. And then, but what was really funny, Andrew, was that this idea of adding more people, and nobody's got a crystal ball. You don't know what's going to happen. And I kind of just didn't write with her for a little while. A couple months went by, and about 3 months later I heard from her, and she said, I gotta score this film, and I thought about you. You want to score it with me? And I was like, wow, that reaching out to her really paid off, because then she and I scored a film in Australia. And then a year later, she said, there's this singer here, and he wants me to write the songs for his record. You want to write it with me? And there's a second really hugely residual. And she and I had so much fun because we really got along really well too. So, you do that times 3,600 people, there's going to be a few Ellens. There's going to be more than a few people who are going to be game changers in how you do things. And the reason why I liked finding co-writers in Hit License was because these people are already pitching to films and TV shows. They're already kind of, a little bit more in the game than some of the people that that made, well, other people that aren't. And so, they're already kind of ambitious and on their way. And when I was writing songs, I don't write songs as much now because I just teach, but I'd write with everybody. I'd write with people. I'd write their first song with them, and I always get back to people. I never not email people back. I just don't rate people like you're really important because you're famous, or you're really important because you're talented. Everybody's important to me, but ultimately, some people give you more opportunities than others, and it's hard to tell where those opportunities are going to come from. I never thought I'd hear from Ellen again, and then all of a sudden I got these two really great opportunities to work more, help my SOCAN checks out a little bit, which was really helpful. And that's my own story that kind of got me thinking that I would want to teach this to other people, and raise their hopes, raise their chances of being able to be as successful as they can be with the talent they've got.
And that's exactly what we're doing here, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keep the questions coming. We've got a great queue of them here. And James, he just said he answers everything. info@jameslinderman.com. Although head to jameslinderman.com first, and you can check out everything, including the title that we'll talk about a bit more in a second. But yeah, there's some questions here, some from the first round too, that thanks for your patience, folks. So James, got kind of a hodgepodge here. I'm just going to fire a bunch at you.
Okay, I'll try and be brief. I'll try and be brief too.
All right. Okay, Brian, I would love to know more about protecting your rights as a songwriter after the writing process. I understand SOCAN and master rights, in brackets, connect, but I'm confused about neighboring rights. As a songwriter and performer, should I sign up with MROC, that's the Musicians' Rights Organization of Canada,
Yeah.
or Resound, do they do the same thing? Question mark.
Okay, so if you notice, very, very few professional songwriters and 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 professional film composers worry about getting their work stolen. The reason for that is because when you, especially if you're involving a lot of people, remember that when something is a legal issue, there's circumstantial evidence, there's eyewitness testimony. Your music has so many ways of being um, dated on your DAW. You know, all those kinds of things are all factors. It isn't just this person said they wrote my song and this person didn't. So protecting your work is not really one of those, you know, great concerns. I'll tell you that if I've had work used that I haven't been paid for, but it only happened to me one time. I never worked with that person again, and that was reasonable because, as I said, my system really guarantees you're going to have a lot of people to work with, a lot of more people involved, a lot more people knowing what you do. So you kind of just chalk that up as a bad experience. You try and not let that define who you are. Don't let these kinds of fears and things like that define how you make music, because it really is counterintuitive to how, you know, we're supposed to be as creative people. Nobody's going to steal something that isn't worth any money yet. The minute it's worth money, then there's all kinds of eyewitness testimony. There's all kinds of people that have been involved in it. There's all kinds of people that you've shown it to. Um, Generally speaking, too, songs just don't get stolen. It just doesn't happen. I had a piece of music that was used that I didn't get remunerate. I didn't get paid for, and that's a whole different thing in terms of I didn't do my SOCAN work right, and that was mostly my fault. And I tried to go back and fix that later, and it was a little bit too late. But now I'm just really careful with my SOCAN work. And you know, these other MROC, like all these other things are great, but I just don't think that should be a thing that you really focus your energy and attention on. Really focus your energy and attention on trying to make music that is actually making revenue, creating revenue, or that you're really proud of if you don't care about the money. I'm not that driven by money. I'm not that attracted to it. So ultimately, I just really want to write really good work. I don't want to get it used, but I do want to be sort of, I do want people to admire the work. Um, you know, that's something that's really important to me too. So what I would suggest to you, and certainly take lots of opinions from other people, but I would stop worrying so much about that, and I would start just trying to put your energy into making the best music you can. And register with SOCAN, and you know, keep good records. The more organized you are, the more likely is you're going to be able to circle back and say, this is the kind of work I do, so I'm more likely to have written this music than the person that stole it, or the person they're saying wrote it. Anybody that has to steal work usually can't make that work. So ultimately, it's really hard for you to lose a piece of music to somebody who, you know, takes it in some kind of way. And if you can trace the piece back to SOCAN, you can also do that with a lawyer eventually if the piece makes enough money that, you know, it's worth lawyering up for, and that lawyer will follow it back to the SOCAN paperwork, and you won't lose. There's no way you can lose. My sister is the meanest person I've ever met, so if you need a lawyer that's really mean, you let me know. I give you her card. That'd be great.
Um, a bit of tasteful cynicism here. Is there a
That's
market
okay.
for well-crafted, harmonically and melodically interesting songs, or are we stuck with today's dumbed-down music, which I'm assuming is pertaining to pop? But yeah, as far as the types of songs we're talking about here, well-structured, rich in harmony and melody, yeah, are people still making money with such things?
All of my friends that make a comment like that, I always tell them it is so obvious you do not watch TV, because there's a lot of good music in TV shows. And subsequently, when you're talking about disposable music on radio, everybody understands that. That's like very, very common urban language, you know, of it being disposable music. We have disposable music for a whole bunch of structural reasons. It's the overuse of the pentatonic scale. It's the overuse of what we call the box pattern, which is 4 chords, 1 chord per bar. So there's 4 chords, 4 beats, 4 bars, 4 lines. So it's like it's shaped like a box. So we call it the box pattern. And I actually came up with the term box pattern to describe that, because it just seemed like like it was a million Taylor Swift songs at the beginning of her career were all box patterns. And then she does a thing called displacement where she changes the order of the same chords, but they don't want to introduce new harmony or interesting ideas because that generation basically listens to music as a soundtrack to them doing algebra homework and talking to their friend on Facebook, and then they've got a Twitter thing going, and then they're watching TV while they've got they've got a million things happening while they're doing homework, and music is one of them. So they actually don't want, this particular generation actually don't want music to just kind of take their full attention. And so subsequently we end up with disposable music because we have an audience that's kind of ripe for it. For those of us who are of a generation where we really like music to sit down and really absorb music and give it our full attention, yeah, you look at TV shows and there's still some really good music, and there's a great revenue stream to make money off of the music that ends up on those TV shows. So to me, that's a very, very optimistic answer to what I don't think is a pessimistic question. I think it's a very realistic question. So that's great.
Right on. Okay, there's 3 left in the queue here, and
Okay.
we'll freeze it at that. If anyone else has questions, I'm at aking@nord.com, info@jameslinderman.com. But let's roll through these, and they are good ones. I have hundreds of unfinished ideas, guitar riffs, lines of lyrics, melodies, etc., but I have trouble finishing songs. Too often I can't get past the first verse. Any tips?
Yes. What you need to do is you need to give yourself permission to write crap. So what you need to do is you need to finish those songs, whether they're working out or not, whether you like them or not, whether things are going well or not. It's just target practice. When you're not playing, if you're preparing for a tournament and things weren't going well, not practicing anymore and not finishing is not really the best way to get beyond that kind of slump that you're going through. And if you've got like sophomore verse jinx, who can't write the second verse, can't figure it out, you have to finish it with the best ideas you've got available. So the 2 things you can do: send it to a collaborator and let that collaborator finish, in which case you lose your artistic control over it, but you will end up with a finished song, and you'll end up with a good song, I hope, depending on the quality of your collaborator. Or finish it yourself just as target practice. Just consider it to be part of your practicing, and practice finishing work. Don't worry about whether you like it or not. It's not a tournament. Every time you write a song, it's not like it's got to go on my album. Write songs just to write target practice. A song I wrote one time was the song "Me and Bobby McGee." You know that song, Andrew? You know the Busted Flat in Baton Rouge? Yeah. So my lyric was, I wrote this with one of my favorite co-writers, Stacey Bannon. I wrote it with Stacey Bannon. She had a lot to do with this lyric. She was such a good songwriter. And we sang Bobby McGee when the sun went. We sang Bobby McGee till the sun went down. We made love in wheat fields and slept it off in old motels. Drank all night and cursed the day. Danced 1,000 songs away. Kind of just used Bobby McGee as a sort of a trampoline into this new song, which had the me and Bobby McGee in it. And we thought that was really cool. We thought that was like a really good idea. But just target practice. It started out as target practice. We were just, trying to get good at our skill.
Yeah, right on. And I guess if I can add to that, if you do have a riff that you love and you end up fleshing that out into a song that you don't love, there's no reason that you can't go back to any certain component of that at a later date too.
Write it over and over and over again until you get one you like.
Bingo.
Yeah, good.
Here's a good question about if you are putting music on hit license, is it important to get it professionally mixed, or can you get away with, say, putting up kind of a rough demo version there as long as the basic core of the song is relatable? How have you found that?
It varies. For some of the TV stuff and some of the indie films, they really like guitar vocal, and they actually really like it when it sounds a little bit like some of my friends even just recorded on their phone, and they really like the fact that it sounds very intimate and it's really lo-fi, and there's something about the EQ on a phone that ends up making the vocals sound really good sometimes. But for some of the filmic stuff, like you'll see from pitch to pitch, you'll kind of, they give you a couple of reference pieces and they'll say, these are the things that if we wanted to spend the money to get this Lumineers song, then this is what we would be using. and we're going to pay you less than we would pay the Lumineers for their song. So, have at it. And so from the pitch, you'll see, oh, that's just a guitar vocal. Cool, I can do my guitar vocal. Oh, that's a fully arranged song. Yeah, I'm probably going to have to sort of pony up and figure out how to do that. Also, Indaba Music is a remixers site, and you can go on Indaba Music and you can find all these guys that do remixes. If you ever want to find a million guys with studios that are really good at working their DAWs, Indaba Music is a great place to go, because all those guys that are doing remixes are also doing mixes. Nobody's just doing remixes. That's just not a thing. So that's really great. You can find a million producers. So you're not just stuck with the one producer you happen to know and maybe don't really dig, a lot. So that can be really helpful too. I just think choice is just really, pretty powerful.
Spot on. And
Yeah.
here we are. We'll wrap it up with this. When you co-write a song with someone, how do you decide if that person's contribution to the song is composing or arranging? Example, I wrote lyrics, all vocal melodies, and most of the guitar chords, and the other person wrote an instrumental bridge on guitar and the main guitar riff. When I register this song, should my collaborator be mentioned as a co-writer, or is it considered an arrangement?
Oh, I always consider everybody to be a co-writer. To me, the best thing for me is to just treat everybody great and not worry about the money and not worry about the percentages. Everybody's family. If you treat everybody like family, you'll get the best work out of everybody. If you treat them like they're somebody that, let me finish off with this story. I had somebody who said, I really feel like, Al, we're finished the song. It was the first time I wrote with this person, and they had a little bit of fame. They had won some Junos and had a little bit of stuff going on, because I had singles too. And at that time, some of those people were attracted to writing with me. And this person said, I really feel like the song is more like, 65% my side and, more a little bit less on your side. I did do this and I did do that and I did do that. And I said to the person, well, let's actually make it 75-25. You take 75. No, actually, let's make your side 80. Hold on, let's make your side 85. No, why don't you take 90? You take 90, I'll take 10%. And he said, why are you arguing against yourself? And I said, because I'm sorry, I'm not going to write again with somebody who devalues my contribution. It's just, I don't want to sound like I take it personally. I don't want to sound like I'm not a good sport, but I just think you're not writing like you want to have a writing relationship. And for me, it was all about, we spent a lot of time at this. I know what you guys have put into this. I know that you've worked hard at it. I know it can be heartbreaking. I know it. You can have a chip on your shoulder, like I sometimes did as well when I was a songwriter. But at the end of the day, we spend so much time at this. You want to also really like the people you write with as people and have them value you and really like you. We have our friendships and our friendship time during the time that we're writing, because I don't have time for friends to do other things with. I don't have time to go bowling or whatever normal people do, play bridge or whatever. I write songs and I do a lot of teaching. So I want to really like the people that I spend time with, and I want them to sort of show me that they respect me and honor me. And I think the best way to do that is to say everybody gets an equal amount. Listen, you might write a little bit less in this one, but if you're going to write a bunch of songs with people, sooner or later they'll step up and they'll have to do a lot of the heavy lifting where you can't. And so it all evens out in the end and everybody's looked after. I actually want my collaborators to make money. I want them to be successful. They've earned it. They're really talented people, and I want them to be celebrated and honored for what they do. And subsequently, that's why I actually advocate for them to, get an equal amount of the song. And not the song should always win. Andrew, we should end with that statement. The song should always win.
The song should always win. Let's.
The song should always win.
Song Forms for Songwriters, Harmonic Function Template Workbook. That's by James Linderman, who's joined us for this. We're very grateful. You can pick that up at musicbooksplus.com at a great price. You can also head to jameslinderman.com, and there's packages there where you can pick up the book and for a very, very reasonable rate. Also arrange a Skype lesson with James to, I guess you could do lots with it, but it could
Yeah.
very well be something related to this book, which will be a big help if you're serious about songwriting. Much of what we've talked about here pertains to song forms for songwriters. And musicbooksplus.com/webinar. There's some titles here that we've chosen to basically just complement or build on some of the content here. And at musicbooksplus.com, if you use the code webinars, you'll save 10% on your purchase. And I guess last thing to note is that about 24 hours from now, you'll get an email with a link to a recording of this session if you need to take it in again. But ultimately, yeah, we appreciate you joining us very, very much. JamesLinderman.com, CanadianMusician.com. James, we really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for Andrew, and thank you everybody for your time and your energy and your efforts. We admire you as songwriters. We know what you put into it for sure.
Oh, brilliant. And thanks to our attendees for your time and great questions, and for the kind words that are pouring in here, which I will share with James after the session.